Episode 1, BonBon and John's Arcade ROMs, is starting right now. We are going to have a different topic every time. Today's topic is going to be horizontal or vertical shmups, which are better. I
Shoot 'em
personally
ups.
think horizontal are better. My
I'm a
good friend
vertical guy.
Sean thinks the
I'm a
vertical is better
vertical. Yeah, vertical fanboy all the way.
all the way. So
All the way.
let's do some quick introductions. My name is John. I'm 30 something, 33 years old. Am I 33 or 32? I'm
I just
32
heard.
years old.
Yeah.
I had to ask my wife. Play video games a little bit. Have a couple of arcades. You know, have a background in video game economics. Used to work at GameStop 15 years ago, and now I play for fun.
Yeah. I'm Sean. We're lifelong buddies. Arcade rats, arcade junkies. Me and Johnny have traveled the world to different arcades. We big fighting games, big I'm pretty big into shmups or STGs, shoot 'em ups, whatever you want to call it. I like the word shmups. I know you hate the word shmups.
You know, that's one thing I wanted to talk about is how I wish there was a better word for what these games are. It's so stupid, and
for
it's
the
too
longest
late.
for the longest time I used to call it shumps. Do you remember that?
I do.
I don't know why I used to get tripped up on the wording. But I at first I hated the word, but now I just love it. I don't know why. I just
I don't know.
love
I
it.
It doesn't roll off the tongue at all.
That's probably why I love it because it's like
Shmups.
so like unnatural and irregular. And everyone's like,
Ugh.
you say that word, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I it's
Oh,
it,
and
it
then that's when you pull your nose so high up. Oh,
oh well
oh. Well,
it's
you don't. Let me explain to you.
no, I just it's I mean I can't think of a better word for it because you can't call them shooters because people will think of first person shooters.
Yeah,
I like the run and gun, but that's for a different style of game. But I
different.
like that name.
Yeah,
It's
I'm with you.
it's like a
I,
subset of shmups, but it just
I like it.
it represents the game better calling it a run and gun because that's exactly what you do. Shmup just sounds stupid. I, I mean, I
Well,
actually
it's a shoot 'em up, and then that is like the text message generation way of saying it.
yeah,
You
but
know what I
that
mean?
that was way before text. I mean,
You're absolutely right.
I like bullet hell shooters better because that
I
tells you exactly what
I
it is.
or Damaku, something cool, but that's like a style of
Right,
shmup.
right. I don't know.
It's
Well,
there's so much niche in it that
I
if you
guess for
start
the
if you start mixing your words and you say it in front of somebody who's a pro, you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about?
well, for the purposes of the episode and clarity, I guess I'll have to use the word shmups.
Shmup. Yeah, and yeah, you have to say
There's an emphasis on the
shmups.
shmoops.
Schmoops.
All right.
But
So I grew up on Super Nintendo shmups. If you even call them shmups, I don't know. I feel like back in the day, i.e., UN Squadron, we didn't call that game a shmup. Would you call UN Squadron a shmup?
I mean, you do. I would now, but back then I probably didn't
What
use
did
the
they
word
call it back
shmup.
then?
They probably just called it like a pilot shooter. You know what I mean? A space
Yeah.
shooter. I mean, I know that's not in space per se, but I mean that's what I always equated it to, like some sort of plane shooter.
Plane shooter.
Where you're
Yeah.
in a shoot, like in a plane or a spacecraft. Obviously it's evolved since then, but
Yeah.
great,
Well,
great game by the way.
I mean, those, I think my
Probably one of the
favorite,
most popular.
yeah, UN Squadron, R Type. Um,
Gradius.
I wasn't really into Gradius. I don't like, okay, so I feel like we should start with the older ones first. Like,
Sure, sure.
I don't want to go back as far as, like, Galaga and Galaxian, because I don't even know if
That's
those
I don't
qualify.
consider. I call that like what the hell is the word for that? I can't think of the word, but it's that's that 80s, early 80s, 70s stuff. Like I guess it is a shmup in a way, but
Yeah.
the fact that you're fixated on one part, you can only move from east to west
Yeah.
instead of like all four ways or eight ways, whatever you want to call it. To me, that's not a traditional shmup.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I
I
mean?
figured you were going to say that, but I don't know the word for them.
Yeah.
But,
There's a word I can't think of it right now, but there is a word for it.
yeah.
I don't, but it's essentially like before modern times, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So on Nintendo, I didn't really play the famous ones on Nintendo. At least as a kid, like Gradius, Light Force. We didn't really have those. So my first exposure was probably UN Squadron was the first one, and then R-Type. But starting with UN Squadron, I don't know if it's because it's the first one I started. That's the way I like it. I think for a lot of people that's probably how it is. But I mean that game is just so awesome. It's hard to
It's a great game. It's a great game.
it's hard to go down from that. But
Yeah.
that's probably my first favorite one. I don't know. I didn't even know you were into shmups until years after we met. Like,
I think I was a late bloomer, to be honest with you.
yeah.
Like I remember playing them, but I couldn't say I was in love with them. Not until kind of later on
And
in
that's the
life,
thing. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about because I don't know why you like them so much.
I don't. You know what? I don't know why I like them either.
That's one thing
But
I hope that you can
I mean,
explain.
yeah. Like to me, it's. I know it's a very depending on. I know some have ridiculous styles of score mechanics, and where you get like the bullet hell. The difficulty is outrageous, but in a form, it's just a almost like a pure form of gaming. Like you're essentially dodging bullets and shooting things before they shoot you. I mean, it seems at such a pure level, like just a simple level, but the way that the genre has evolved, and I do think because they've ramped up the amount of bullets and the environments and the colors and just the pure dodging mechanic, just the way it is, the difficulty of it, it just kind of like sparked an interest.
That's what I
It's
think that's weird though because especially because you say because they evolve because I feel like I
they've
when I was
always been
going
hard.
no I feel they are getting harder but throwing more bullets on the screen I don't know if that makes the game harder. I mean it's hard to gauge difficulty for an arcade game for me because obviously I don't play them in the arcade and we can just add as many credits as you want. So it's a
Yeah,
little different than being at home and playing a game where when you die you go back to the beginning of the level like you went Squadron type stuff. But
yeah,
I feel like I'm going to talk about UN Squadron a lot because it's probably the one I know the most. But I love how in
I
that
hear you.
game there's strategy in the plane you pick, there's strategy in the items you buy. But
Yeah.
like these new games, it's like besides like one mechanic where there's like an absorb thing, it's like you just get a more powerful shot and sometimes you can hold the shot and you move slower and like that's it. Like what else has happened besides that in the last 10 years in these shmups that makes it
Well,
actually evolve?
I think on the surface, that's what it looks like, right? So like when you first see it, you're like, all right, well, how do I survive through this game? And when I first pick up a shmup, I feel like the first thing I do is I'll quarter feed it a couple times just to or credit feed. I don't obviously there's no arcades anymore, but even if it's on MAME or whatnot, or if it's a new console port of a game, you just kind of like credit feed, go through the game a couple times, and kind of see what you if you are into this game, if you want to invest the time into it, and then you kind of look up. I look up the scoring mechanic, and a majority of the time, I would say the first time I try to clear a game, it's definitely for survival to begin with. But you actually start to learn that if you try to get a higher score using a score mechanic, like a good example would be a pretty easy one, I guess, Ketsui. That's a game I've been playing lately because it just got released for PS4, and I have a PCB of it. But you want to kill things in a simple way. It's a little more to it, but you obviously want to kill things closer up to it. If your plane is further away, you don't get as many points. But if you kill things closer up using your auto shot or whatever, you get more points essentially. There's more to it, obviously, but
Mm.
um,
I gotta say, I would like you said, it's the purest form.
it's
Just
very
thinking about because it's I after you saying that, I actually appreciate why you like it more because it is so simple. There's no puzzles. There's
no
no
bullshit.
tricks. There's no bullshit. It's
Yeah,
dodge the bullets and try to get to the end, and I can understand
exactly.
that.
And
But what?
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go
No, no,
ahead. I'm
no.
sorry. I
But
mean,
that's the thing. It's like when I play, they all like especially the cave games. I mean, they have such a similar look. I know they have a certain style, but it's just like what's the difference? Like, what? Why would I play one game over the other? Is it just are they just like different episodes in the same series? It's just different planes or people flying or monsters.
There's
Like
different mechanics. There's obviously different mechanics with every game.
yeah.
But I mean, to be completely honest, probably something that most people won't agree with. But when you get to the point where there's a zillion bullets on the screen, and you're doing something that it's a strategy that a lot of people who play shmups use called tap dodging, where your ship has a hitbox and the bullets have a hitbox,
Mm.
right? And not all the times, like as you see on the screen now, you have a beer on the left. You see how you can actually see your hitbox, the little red or the little blue inside the
Oh yeah,
planes.
I didn't even know that there's a hitbox, but that makes sense.
That's yeah, that's your actual hitbox. So that's what it's only a few pixels actually, even though your plane's bigger. Which and some games might not be as clear as day as that one. That's why it's actually pretty cool to play that game because you can see it. But a lot of games you don't know. You have to find out what it is, and once you get used to it, you can kind of be like, all right, and now you have to learn the hitboxes of different shots, like different planes, and different, you can see these pink arrow bullets, they have a different hitbox compared to like the popcorn bullets or the suicide bullets or the bigger bullets that come in. And that's all part of learning the game. And one of the cool things is when I play at home or somebody's watching me play, I always get the holy shit, man, I can't believe you made it out of there. You know what I mean? And as stupid as that may seem, that's exactly why I play the games. So someone, even myself, when I'm playing, so someone could be like, "Holy shit, man, how did you get by that?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, that's what I do, bro." Like it's
In
just
your
like
head, you're
anything
telling
else.
yourself, "Well, I see the game at a different speed than most normal people do."
Exactly. And I could get into a lot of strategies, as far as, there's a micro dodging, a macro dodging. If you want to dodge the whole, you try to dodge the whole pattern completely. When you get stuck and you're on stage 5, stage 6, stage 4, wherever the game really starts to ramp it up, and you're down to your last life. You don't got any bombs left to panic through. You know what I mean? And you get like at the edge of your seat. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? You get this like adrenaline rush. And even though it's a simple game, and I could say other games have the same way, just some sort of appeal. And of course, the other appeal of the game is that it's an arcade game, and I love playing games on arcades,
I mean,
and I know you agree to that too.
arcades are the essence
I
of
mean,
life. I mean,
like I said, you want to talk pure, get on a freaking cabinet and play a game. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Any game that is made for an arcade, that's how we grew up. That's
Well,
what
I
that's what
realize
essentially interests me.
we gotta get back on topic. So the
Yep,
original
yep.
topic is what is better, horizontal or vertical? And for me personally, I think horizontal is, but I've always liked horizontal better. I just feel like it's more. I don't know. It makes more sense, especially when you're playing modern consoles and modern TVs. It's easier to play. It's hard, like even right now, like just to get the maximum value from the screen from a vertical shmup is tough unless you have like the perfect setup. And I feel
Yeah.
like the horizontal ones have more of a not adventure, but like there's more there's different systems. Like the vertical shmups are almost always the same. It's just you can power up your shot. You have one ability that changes from game to game, and that's pretty much it. Whereas the horizontal ones they get a little bit more creative, like having purchasable weapons and like being able to like R type, you getting different types of attachments for your ship and stuff. And I always feel like the horizontal ones just have that extra layer of gameplay that the vertical ones usually don't have. I mean, I may be wrong. I don't know the difference in the number, but it just seems to me like there's the horizontal ones always have like more variety in the weapons, and I like that better because it keeps me more interested.
I mean, I mean, to be honest with you, both styles of vertical and horizontal have those mechanics in the games where you can build your ship up. You can get, you know what I mean? I wouldn't go with that, but as far as the ones that you like, I think are more horizontal, and the ones I like are more vertical. I mean, I'm looking at your screen right now. You look at your screen right now, right?
Yeah.
Look at the games you got playing, okay? Now tell me that game Guange right in the middle isn't the most beautiful fucking
Listen,
thing you've ever seen.
Guang is fucking awesome. I love
I
this
mean,
game. I
it's a great game. It's a great game. And here's a game that's not a ship. You know what I mean?
Yes. and that's
But
what I like about it. You actually
there's
I'm limited in where I walk, and I love that. The
it's
levels
pretty
are
cool.
thought out. There's definitely this game they God spent a little more time on. It's putting that much more like another layer where you move around and you're limited and your character move. It's just and like the depth of the levels. It's just it's better. I wish more games were like this, but like there is no Goang 2, but there's a million other cave shooters that are spaceships and stuff. Like I
No,
know that I
I wouldn't say they're all spaceships, to be
or
honest with
whatever.
you.
I mean or flying girls or whatever it is.
Transgendered.
Most of the yeah, like most of the time, like the screen is just scrolling to the left right now. Like
Yeah,
I don't see that very often, and that's what keeps me
yeah.
interested in this game. Like most of the time when I play shmup, once I play through one like level of continue, it's like I'm like, all right, I've seen everything. But this game, I found myself playing to the end because I'm like, I want to see what the next level looks like. Look at these monsters, like
Yeah.
these spider monsters. Like you probably only see them once in the game, and I love when a developer takes time to just make new enemies throughout the whole game, and it's I don't know, it just keeps it interesting for me.
I mean, as far as that is, I know this is again off topic, but if you actually play more cave shooters, their worlds, their environments and their worlds, like you could look at, Mushishimi Sama Futari. That's another like you're like encaptured in that world. They make beautiful bullet patterns, I mean, beautiful sprite work, beautiful environment, and that's part of the reason why I love Cave. But going back to the, I know I get off topic a lot, but going
It's
back to
gonna
the
happen a lot. This whole
vertical
podcast should be called "Getting Off
vertical versus
Topic."
horizontal. Now I know our good dear friend Matt Killender stole my juice and told you ahead of time, but I want to put it to you this way: when you play fighting games, do you play on a pad or do you play on an arcade stick?
I play on an arcade stick.
Play on an arcade stick. Now, when I play a vertical shooter, the only way to play it, I'm sorry, I know sometimes you're convenient, whatever. The only way to play it is to rotate your screen
Right.
and use the full zone. You get that unique feel. You know what I mean? When you're playing a vertical shmup, you're getting that unique arcade experience. Now, granted, horizontals are in the arcade and you get the same experience, but there's something that intrigues me about playing a game differently than I play other games. And you kind of get that oh wow factor. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And I agree. I think that you should play them that way. But that's one thing I think that's bad about it is to get the full experience of a vertical shmup, you have to have a vertical monitor. And for most people, that's not they're not going to do that. They're not going to go through the trouble. They might not have a monitor that rotates. And I do think it looks better. Like I would do it right now, but I don't have a monitor that does that actually.
Well, let me throw this back at you too. Would you consider yourself a normal casual gamer, or would you consider yourself that takes gaming to that extra level to be better at a game, to experience a game, and take it to that extra level? I already know the answer to the question, so
Well, if I was very serious about shmups, I mean, I'm not as into them as you are. I'm sure one of my arcades would have a vertical screen in it, but
exactly.
for me, it's not. That's not one of my favorite
It's not your
styles.
forte. It's not your
It's not my
forte. I got you.
forte.
I got you. I
Right.
got you. I got you.
So,
And now here I'm gonna go a little deep on the whole vertical versus
oh
horizontal.
shit,
Now, this could sound politically insane,
politically insane.
very, very ridiculous. But I was thinking about this over I was on the toilet, my thinking chair,
The thinking
aka
chair.
the toilet, and looking at, would you consider yourself a hero or a villain in real life? Honestly, no, honestly, no,
You know,
I'm going. So,
as I grow older, I wouldn't consider myself either. I consider myself what's the word? Pragmatist. I do what I need to do when it needs to be done.
it's a new word I learned today. Thanks.
I don't know if that's the right word. I wouldn't use that.
Okay, I won't stand on a hill with that word.
Yeah.
I
But,
got you.
as you get older you
All right.
realize you can't always be the hero because, you'll get fucked. So,
Okay. All right. Now I want you to look at on your screen. Look at UN Squadron, and look at UN Squadron. Okay.
okay.
Now I want you to think to yourself, if you're watching this happen in real life. All right. Obviously, where are you right now?
I'm at
You're on the
home.
same level. You're on the ground. You're on the street. You're a bystander on what's going on, and you're just watching straight there, right? That's what it is.
Okay, hang on. Are you saying that you
Now,
like vertical shmups because you
just
get a
listen.
view from God?
Exactly. You knew exactly where I was going. Now look at it. Now you're a puppet master. You're the villain in the mothership looking. You are God. You are controlling everything.
Oh my God. As I was thinking of the arguments we were going to be saying, I was not expecting that. That is
I know.
amazing. How can I argue with that? I mean, I get it. You're playing God instead of
Exactly.
watching.
Exactly. Now here's another thing. This is again just a preference thing for me. As far as moving through the stage, just to me, and now don't get me wrong. I mean, I could be wrong because I'm also a fan of horizontals, and there's some awesome horizontal shooters out there that have great environments and stuff. I just love the animation feel of the overhead when you're going through ascending through the stage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like some games definitely do it better than others. Like one game I don't have up on the screen, the Ikaruga.
Oh my god, what a
That
great game!
game is awesome. I mean, the another reason why I love that game is the base mechanic where you got to switch from white to black. Like that alone makes that
Yeah,
game just so far above other ones because it adds such a it's not even a layer of gameplay. It is the game, and
yeah,
it's so hard and so challenging, and it's one of the few of the ones that I kept playing over and over again because I was like I want to get further, and you learn the patterns. I feel like that game, it 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 promoted learning. You had to learn the patterns to beat that game. Whereas for like playing the arcade ones, it's like you have bombs and stuff to save you. There's no bombs to save you in that game. If you don't learn how to play that game, you die. And it was so unique, and that's why I love that game. But they also did a lot of cool things with the stage movement, like you're
yeah,
talking about in that game.
absolutely.
And there was
Now
another
don't get.
one. No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna bring up a different game. So just,
Go ahead. Bring it up. Bring it up. Go ahead.
have you ever played Philosoma on PlayStation One?
No, I haven't.
That game, I gotta see if I can bring it up because I only first played it a couple weeks ago when I was adding games to my Raspberry Pi, and that game does a lot of crazy things with the viewport. It goes from I think horizontal or vertical first, and then it does like a back view, almost like Star Fox,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's not pretty. I mean, it's like one of the first PlayStation games that ever came out, but it definitely like it keeps you interested. You're just like, wow, what the like I wasn't expecting that. And it works okay. I mean, anytime a game does that, it's kind of weird. I mean, Star Fox does it okay, but it's hard to dodge, especially like bullet hell style bullets when it's like when the perspective is like that because you can't really see where your ship is relative to the bullet until like the last second. But they did a
Yeah.
good job. I mean, it's that I like when that
Gotcha.
perspective changes. But I would say most of the shmups I play, even the ones that I like Donpachi and stuff, it's just scrolling from bottom to top. Nothing changes, and I don't know. It gets boring. Like when it doesn't hold my interest after the first level, it's like you might as well just be a black screen at the bottom. Like who cares? I don't know.
I mean, I think you're crazy that that game doesn't hold your interest, but that's just your opinion. I respect it. I mean, I think more of the difficulty is probably why it doesn't hold your interest. Am I right? Am I right to say that it's just like a very hard game?
I mean, I'm not
Not
saying
that you
I'm.
don't wouldn't play hard games, but I'm saying that I know when the first time I ever played Dananpachi was with you. I think you remember that when we were going through when we first got GGPO and we were going
Mhm.
through all the names, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I was like, that's one of the times I was like, oh my god, what is this game? We were like, this is like the hardest game ever, and I mean that immediately intrigued me, obviously. But it's as far as you talk about when you said you have no bombs to save you and stuff like that. Well, if you try to beat those games, especially the bullet hell vertical style games, if you try to beat them without bombs, I mean, it, I mean, if you try to beat them even with bombs, they're still extremely difficult.
Yeah.
And certain games have bombs mainly for scoring mechanics. You know what I mean? Or you have a second loop you have to save your bombs for or whatever. But I mean, I always look at bombs as kind of a safety net. But it's it's not like most games where it's an auto bomb. Most of the time, they're there. You have to use it. You have to know when to use it. And
Yeah.
if you die before you use it, you wasted it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a part of the game. Almost like a super meter or whatever. In fighting games. Like you don't have to use it, but it's there when you need it.
I think
You
that's
know?
I think that's another reason though. Like the fact that especially for the arcade games, it's they all pretty much all of them that I can think of. When you die, you just respawn right there, and you put more quarters in, whatever. For a game like this, like I just died in UN Squadron, I have to go and restart the level. And if I like the game, I keep playing. And a game like Ikaruga, I think you maybe only have like one or two lives, and then you have to go back. Like you can't just continuously respawn in that game, and that's what makes it interesting. It's not you can't just continuously throw yourself at the game and then
Yeah.
eventually win. And I feel like I mean it's not really the game's fault because it's like especially these arcade games, they're not meant to be played at a desk where you can just throw as many quarters as you want on. You're supposed to be like every quarter is like this is my money and I'm losing money playing this game. So you
Yeah.
have to try really hard so you don't go broke. But I don't know. There's some. I feel like there's some. For me, at least, I prefer the game. At least resets you
With
back a little bit.
checkpoints.
Yeah.
With
So
checkpoints.
we talked about like last week Einhander on PSX. I don't know
Great
how to
game.
pronounce it.
Great game.
Einhander. Einhander.
Yeah, no,
I feel
I
like
think it's I call it Einhander. I got you.
that game had such a perfect checkpoint system, and it was
Great.
so like it never puts you too far back where you wanted to give up. I probably spent like 2 hours at a time on the toilet playing that game an
Yeah.
hour after I was done, just because I was like, I gotta get to the next boss, and every boss was different. Every boss is unique, and that I like. And again, that's a horizontal shooter. You get upgrades, you get weapons. It's not just your shot
The
gets bigger and
weapons.
bigger.
The weapon system's amazing in that
I
game.
why
I
didn't they
absolutely love
make
it.
more Einhander
That's,
games? That game is so
I
amazing.
don't, and that's a game that is only on console. That's not even an arcade
I
game.
know. There's
I
a
mean, that to me is absolutely insane. How did that game not come out in arcades in Japan?
yeah
And what's in SquareSoft published that
yeah.
game?
It
I mean,
was
that's got so many like beautiful hands on it. Like I feel like that could have been something even more than
yeah.
what it was, to be honest with you. And I don't know if you know, but at the time, Treasure, which was that game Ikaruga.
Mhm
This was pre Ikaruga days. They released a game called Radiant Silvergun,
mhm
which came out for the Saturn around the same time. And I remember those are the two shmups at the time that everyone talked about. And I'm a big fan of Radiant Silvergun. I don't know if you've ever played that game. There's one that game is awesome, and there's one thing that game does that it kind of bothers me, but in a sense it works. So it's a vertical shmup that plays on a horizontal screen,
hmm. Well,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
you
Okay.
don't you're not you can't flip it. You can't. It's supposed to be played on a horizontal screen, and it's like what I mean. It's kind of a little awkward at first. You got like that stretched look, but that game has also a different style, but the weapon mechanics in that game are absolutely incredible. You level up your weapons, you have to use every button is a different weapon and a combination of buttons are different weapons and you have to level them up and you need a certain weapon that you have at a certain point in the game so you have to make sure it's leveled up. You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm
like a whole layer of the game. But going back to the whole checkpoint system, that's not as far as horizontal versus vertical. That is more of a old school thing because a lot of vertical games have that too. You know the Raiden series,
mhm.
not the newer Raiden games, but
Right. The only arcade in every single Pizza Hut.
oh, great game too. By the way, love Raiden 2. Love that game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
you're
we
right.
had that on the Atari Jaguar, way back in the
Wow.
day. Yeah, I
Well,
think.
I remember seeing that the Jaguar box in your
Yeah,
basement back in the day. That's sick,
yeah,
man.
I played that game a lot. It was
Yeah, it's
fun.
a great game. But that like especially the older Tool Plan games. That's a
Toll
famous
Plan.
arcade. They had that style of mechanic in their older games where when you die, it's kind of like a checkpoint thing. That again, that was more of a modern. And when I say modern, like late '90s or mid to late '90s, where they started that. You die, you come back right away. And
Hmm
have a little invincibility frames. But I mean, I could agree with you on that, especially if you're trying to go through the game to make sure you get every layer of the game
hmm
to go back on the checkpoint. And I mean, that's also the advantage of emulators like Main, where you have save states. If you
Yeah.
fuck up, you just go right back. But I mean, like I said, there's no right or wrong answer to horizontal versus vertical. It's just I love vertical games, but I also like some horizontal games. I know the Darius series. I'm a huge fan. I think it's a beautiful game, especially the last one,
Yeah,
the
I just
Darius
played.
Burst.
I mean, I didn't play the last one. I played the one on PlayStation, and I love how that game you have the branching paths because
Oh, I love that.
there's just so much to do. It's amazing. I don't know in that game. Does it get? Because I didn't know this until recently, but you know the old Outrun games.
Yes.
Apparently, if you go, I don't know if it's up or down. One way is always harder than the other way. So if you
Yep.
like consistently go up or down, I don't know
Down.
which one it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's down. So the higher the letter is in the alphabet, because you get to pick. Like you start off on A stage, right?
yeah.
Now after A, you go to like I forget what it is, B, C, or B, D, whatever it is. If you keep with the higher level in the alphabet, it is always easier.
Mm.
But the lower level in the alphabet will always be the harder stage. So when you pick, and it'll tell you the paths, you can see the paths. It'll you could start at you could take a much harder path, or you could take the easiest path available. And so
Mm.
instead of having like a difficulty system, that is the difficulty system,
I like
is
that.
learning those stages.
Is it?
I think it's a great mechanic. I
Yeah,
love it. And that way you're getting more content out of the game as well. So
yeah.
as you progress, you can just keep, all right, I cleared this path. Let me clear that path.
That's the other thing too. Like when I play a game and I get bored of it in the first like whatever 5 minutes. With a game like that, I can go back and try different. It's like at different levels from the beginning. Like it's not like old school Nintendo games where it's like it's the same game start to finish all the way through. I think that's why I don't really like the original like Castlevania game. It's like if you don't like the first couple levels, it's not going to keep you interested because this is
Yeah.
just every time you play it's the same. And I like how in those games it's different.
I mean, I got you on that. I can understand that completely. Usually, if I like it, I mean, if I play a game and put a lot of time in, especially a shmup to try to clear it, it's because I like the game. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I have to like the game in order to invest the time in. But when you're clearing it, like I said, there's nothing like getting a one credit clear or beating your score. You know what I mean? And having an audience. Because my brother-in-law lives across the street, comes over all the time, and I always play Ketsui or Espeluna on my arcade. And every time just to me, it's no big deal because I've been doing it for years. But to see his jaw drop when you know what I mean, when I like dip and do some, dip and weave and get through them and stuff, do the tap dodging. Oh my God, how did you know? And then there's a moment where everybody just gets quiet in the room. I'm just getting through, like it's cool to see that. It's cool to have some like a oh shit moment. People are
So
like, wow, that was impressive.
I don't know much about the shmup community, but is it considered? Are you considered to have beaten the game only when you once see it, or does it not? Does nobody care about that?
I,
Like,
I'm
can you say you've
it's
beaten like Death Smiles until you've actually once CC'd it,
Yeah,
or
I mean, I would say you have to like that's definitely the pinnacle is well not the pinnacle, but that's like to say you cleared a game in one credit, that's usually your first goal. That's
yeah,
usually your goal, and that's usually when you could say, okay, I'm done with this game, or am I gonna start playing for score now? And then all you got to do is look at the world records and see, especially in Japan, that you'll probably spend 10 years playing a game and never catch those game scores. But it's a type of personality. I know it's weird, but it's a type of personality where you have to be a grinder, and you know what I mean. Like it's not easy to do. It could take months to learn to clear a game,
yeah,
And if you don't have that personality, then it's probably not for you,
yeah. I don't think
And I could say
this.
this. I know you know me. I play Street Fighter 4. I play Street Fighter 4 every day for almost 8 years. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna stop until I became the number one Sagat in the world on Xbox Live,
Do they
or I
have
could go.
like ranked leaderboards online on any of the newer
Yes,
games in Japan?
yes, they do. And the cool part is too is you can actually upload your replay, so you could
Wow.
see. Yeah, so there's no hiding it. You know what I mean? There's no bullshit, and it's not like other games where they're like so ultra competitive because nobody really cares. I mean, it's really up to you, and there's no like giant community out there that's gonna, hey, you want to beat the game, it's because you want to beat it. It's not because you're gonna get some $1 million contract or anything. It's not
Mm.
like an esport or anything like that. It just always felt like, especially these harder bullet hell shooters, it just always felt like the ultimate single player test of will versus, you know, arcade versus the computer or single player experience.
I guess
If you
I
if you
wish there
feel
was
me on
some
that.
some kind of PvP aspect of it.
I mean, the PvP is the scoreboard. That's
Yeah.
what it is. It's the leaderboard. Usually when when I have Charles over, we're drinking bourbon, and then we're taking turns on credits to see who either gets further in the game or has higher score in the game.
Hmm.
And that's I mean, it's not really a big deal, but you most of the time you're fighting yourself because you want to see yourself progress further and
Well,
further.
I
You know,
mean, like in most fighting games, I've never actually lost.
I've only run out of life.
The
I've
only
only run out of time.
the only person that's ever beaten me is myself. No one's ever beaten me. It's usually just my own fault. So I can understand what you're saying because
And like to think of it too, probably no one cares because now there's always somebody out there that's perfectly cleared a game. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Nowadays in these shmups, but for you to beat a game and then be able to save a replay and then go back and look at it and be like, yo, I cleared this game. You know what I mean? And it's there. It's just an achievement. It's a tough thing to do in gaming, but when you do it, it feels great. You know.
yeah.
And this stuff you could say that about other genres. You know what I mean? I recently have gotten into a lot of platform arcade games. We were talking about it, like Makamura, aka Ghost and Goblins,
Oh yeah,
Black Tiger, Rastan. I've been playing a few of those games, and they're also incredibly hard. Great games too, by the
yeah.
way.
They're frustrating. The
They
only
are
one that
extremely
I really
frustrating.
liked so far, I really like the Ultimate Ghost and Goblins. You really have to try that.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. That sounds like a great.
They kept it, yeah. They kept it. The levels, every single level is so different and challenging, and they have like it's not just platforming, easy jumps. Like it's just there's parts where like lava goes up and down. You got to ride these platforms. That game was crazy, and it kept me interested the whole way until I got to the end, and it was like, oh, you didn't collect enough golden rings, and I was like, fuck this game. I'm not collecting. Cause
Oh, I thought it'd make you do like in the first one after you beat the first tower. They're like, I think it was it. They say, "Oh, the princess wasn't in this tower. It's
right,
the tower next door or something." Then you have to redo the game
yeah.
again. Get
I'm
the
sure
true
it
ending.
probably does do that. I'm sure once you get to the end and actually beat whatever the final boss is, I'm sure there's probably one more level past the door, and then you got to beat someone. But like throughout the level, there's tons of hidden areas which are also awesome. And then like I would get these golden rings. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is for, because you actually have an inventory and there's different shields. Like there's shields that
Oh, cool.
like reflect. There's shields, and there's different types of armor too. It's not just the regular armor. Like some armor makes you move faster. Some armor, I don't know. I don't even remember. There was like 3 or 4 different kinds of weird armor. But anyway,
They have like the golden armor where it makes you like have that Yang's third strike special. Because that's in Super Ghosts and Goblins, I believe, the Super Nintendo one, or like
maybe.
it was an arcade one. I think it's Daku Makamura.
Well, you have like, I mean, yeah, I played it like the easiest mode, and on the easiest mode, you can if you keep getting armor, you keep getting life, and then but like if you play on the hardest mode, you can only have like 2 hits max, and you die no matter how much armor you have. So it's
Yeah.
still it's no matter what, even though you have all these crazy armors, it still gets pretty fucking hard. And like on the easy mode, I felt like a little kid. It gives you like 15 lives, but I was still dying and I was still losing all my lives because it's so hard. I mean, even in the first level, I was like, "There's a million things flying at me," and I'm like, "How could anyone do this without getting hit?"
There's people out there, and
Oh,
and
I'm sure.
it's a randomized game too. That's the crazy part. It's
Yeah,
randomized.
but yeah, but it's
Like
like
nobody knows for sure, but they're just so careful and have so much experience playing the game that they've seen it all.
yeah. And I'm
It's
like,
incredible.
it's like this. It doesn't even make sense. Like I feel like in the first level of the original game, it was the zombies came and then like some things flew in. But in this game, it's like there's like these ghouls that just float from random spots of the screen. They don't clip into the walls. They just keep coming at you, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? But I mean, like in this game, you get your weapons get super strong too. Like your crossbow shoots like 5 shots and takes up like half the screen. So you can kill them fast, but if you have no power ups, I don't know how anyone can do it. But it was cool. But
That sounds
anyway,
cool.
but by the time I got to the end of the game, I collected like I don't know 2 golden rings. I was like, oh wow, I found this secret. And then I found a couple of them. And then like I got to the last store and it was like you have to collect all 48 rings to go through the store. And I was like, what the fuck? I mean, there was like I remember there was like 4 or 5 that I was like, oh, I can't make that jump. But maybe I'll go back later. And then it was like, yeah, you need a billion
All
of
of
them.
them.
And I was like,
Oh
forget
my
this.
god.
I
Well,
was
I mean, they make the guy come back for more, the player come back for more.
yeah.
In that sense. Um. Oh, going back too. I'm sorry to switch it up again. But going back to vertical versus horizontal,
Hmm.
another reason why, for me, anyways, as far as why I like verticals, when you're playing too, I don't know if you do this. I play a lot of shmups, so I might have a different way of playing, but I don't always look at my ship. That's like the worst thing you could do.
Hmm.
You kind of like you
See, I
want to,
always look at the ship.
yeah, like that's how I used to play. But the more I play a game and the more I learn it, the more I realize if I'm looking at my ship, I'm losing visualization, can't talk, of what's coming at me. Even though I played the game a zillion times, I'm playing at such a micro level that I have to be more aware of the macro. You know what I mean? Like what's going on the whole screen,
So
especially
then,
in
what are you
these.
looking at?
Well, you're looking at where you're going to dodge. That's where you want to look.
Mm.
You're looking at
So
where
you're
your
planning
plan is
out
going.
where
You have to
the
plan it
circles are
exactly.
or the zones
In
are.
order to master a game and clear a game, you have to already know where you are as far as your ship in relation to your eyes and have complete control of it. So to me, when I'm playing a vertical shmup, it almost feels natural the way my eyes and the way I can see the game at that macro micro level. It feels so much more natural to see me where I am going. And again, this is probably just a preference thing
Fuck.
of where I'm gonna dodge. You know what I mean, or where I know it's gonna get dicey. You know, because
But how
it's.
does that differ from a horizontal game? Or you're just saying in all
I'm
shmups?
saying it feels more natural for me to be on vertical to
Hmm.
see where I'm dodging, to see the bullets coming at me. It feels more natural for me to move up than to move right or left. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
As far as going straight up, and it just feels like to me that might be how my mind works. It's probably the difference between a beautiful mind and a pleb mind, like you said. No, one kid. But no, that's just how it is. It just seeing where I'm gonna dodge just feels more natural and vertical compared to horizontal.
Hmm.
You
I
know,
don't think I
and
have a preference. I don't think that really affects it for me. Like, I don't know if I would choose a game based on that, or I prefer it one way or the other. I think it's more of just the game mechanics. I feel
I
like
could agree with that.
there's more weirdness and more variety in the horizontal shooters versus the vertical ones. At least in the more recent ones. Like, I don't know, there's always like some kind of weird crazy thing going on. Like that one game, what is it, Pro Gear, where you have like a tether and you got to like point the
Yeah,
shot. Like that's
yeah.
interesting. Like that little thing makes it more interesting for me than you know
I'm
the
I'm
other
gonna
ones.
throw. I knew you were gonna bring that game up. I bet you didn't know this, but it had a canceled sequel, and the sequel was supposed to be vertical.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's crazy. I mean, if you dig deep into the internet, you'll see it, but you'll see screenshots of it. It was actually supposed to be a sequel that was going to be vertical, and if you actually see the screenshots, the game looks so much better vertical, in my
Oh,
opinion. The sequel that was going to come out, I'm like, wow, that
so
looks amazing.
I'm surprised it didn't get like leaked or anything.
Well, I don't think they released anything of it or had much to do with maybe just artwork, but I've seen an actual like screenshot of it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it had a vertical with bullets coming down. It looked sick. It
Yeah.
just never made it out. And it's crazy too because that I was always saying if Cave is ever gonna port a game, how are they not gonna port Pro Gear? That's the almost the only game that isn't on that has even in Japan that doesn't have a console release. But I think it has to do with the Capcom licensing of it
Hmm.
because it was it was made on a CPS2 board
Hmm.
and Capcom actually licensed it. So I think the only way we might ever see it is one of those like Capcom arcade compilation ports. You know what I mean? Where it's like a
Yeah.
bunch of games.
I doubt they're
We
gonna
might,
do any of those
I,
anymore.
I know. I mean, it feels like to me it feels like shmups have a little bit of momentum lately, but especially all these M2 ports that have been coming out from Japan. I don't know if we'll ever see it, but hopefully one day we might get one. I mean, I'll probably still play it on MAME because I have save states and a CRT screen to play it on. You
Okay.
know,
So,
play it
Mr.
just like
Vertical Defender, I need you to explain something to me.
sure.
Why
Oh, here we go. Moochie Moochie
have you
Pork.
played this game?
Yes, I have.
I haven't even
In
heard of this
fact,
game.
they're supposed to be heavy set women, if that's what you're saying.
Why? Why?
I mean, you could say the same thing about Death Smiles, which is a
I
horizontal shoot.
that's another thing I was going to bring up, but I didn't think of
It's
until just now. I feel like the horizontal shooters are almost always, besides Choiniki, which is, I mean,
The
it's
most,
beautiful.
but the most masculine game in the world.
Yes, I mean this you
Great
can't
game.
deny. Uh, I feel like the horizontal ones are more serious with the ships and the characters, which can be good and bad. Like obviously you have weird ones like Goang, which is awesome, but it doesn't get to the silly aspect. But I don't like piloting a person like in the ESP game or
Oh, come on. ESP game's great. I mean, it's a little weird because I know you change gender, lab rats or
I
whatever.
I didn't even know that. So
But yeah, yeah. When you know the not not what's it Esperada, but Escaludo 1 and 2,
Epscaluda, yeah.
which I personally, it's actually a great mechanic where you actually slow down time. It's a little weird that you change gender, but that's more. I think that's more the Japanese culture.
Yeah,
They need.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like this is considered a cute 'em up right here. What you're playing.
Is this a cute 'em up?
This is considered a cute. Like, have you ever played the game Twin B?
Yeah.
That's considered a cute 'em up. You know, this might be a what do you call it? A lolly. That's a lolly up.
La-
I guess
Loli.
that's like Death Smiles, like lolly up, whatever. But that's I mean, you play fighting games that have all women in it that are 7 years old, and
Yeah. I know, but it's funny because especially coming from you, and I'm sure if Maurice played this,
it's
he,
yeah.
I can't play this. These characters, they're all girls.
It's a little, this game is. I mean, if you look past that, this is actually a really good game.
Yeah. I've
I'm
never
not gonna
actually
lie.
played this one.
Eh,
What's
eh,
special
eh,
about this one?
you have like a shot that you have that shot there too, but you
Oh,
have
it's
a
weird.
shot that actually can absorb bullets too, and
Is it a
it's
different button?
I haven't played it in
I like
years,
that
but
animation that just happened in the corner.
it might
It's
be
like a
per
robot. What
character,
is
but
that? That's
I
awesome.
couldn't tell you what it is, but that's clearly some sort of bomb. But no, this game is actually it's comical. They're supposed to be heavy set women, even though they're like super busty.
And they're
You know,
like 4 feet tall, if that.
I don't know the exact storyline of this game, but it's actually a pretty fun game, and it can get super hectic later on. You know what I mean?
It actually plays really smooth. I feel like I was testing the other games and they were kind of choppy. This one feels much smoother, and I'm not sure if it's just the dump of the ROM, but
I was gonna say that's probably
this
the
just
ROM,
looks way better than the other one
because
does
I
to me.
think my ROM is a little unplayable. It's choppy and
Hmm.
it's very like stuttery, and I have like sprite tears.
It might just be this main version or something.
Yeah, but no, I was thinking that too. Yours looks really nice right now.
I'm playing it just because it's so smooth. I like the way it looks. My
Yeah.
bad.
Again, like this is just like that goofy, Japan otaku, if I would.
Mm.
But no, it's all. I still think, even though it's like a cute style game, I mean, I still look at this as the sprite work, the animation, the bullets. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
nice. I love
it's still
the
great. It's still beautiful.
pre-rendered stuff.
Look at that boss right there. That's a pretty cool looking boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know?
I like the look of like that fake 3D, like the Donkey Kong Country look.
I know.
I
I love that.
I like a lot of shmups have. I like that one game Soul Divide on PlayStation,
Oh,
the
so
horizontal one.
hard. Yeah. That that game's pretty cool, man. I
I
like that
like
game
that
a
one.
lot. Super hard, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, and if you like that whole like medieval fantasy thing, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a game called Dragon Blaze?
Which one is that?
So it's a Psycho game. Psycho makes Soul Divide. Now it's a vertical, not horizontal like Soul Divide, but you remember probably one of my favorite shmups that really got me into it was Gunbird 2.
Hmm.
It's the same
Oh, you mean
style,
Mobile Light
same.
Force 2?
What's that?
You mean Mobile Light Force 2?
Oh yeah.
I still
Yeah,
can't
the
believe I didn't know
English.
that. I remember
Oh yeah.
working at GameStop years ago and seeing that game on the shelf, just like the front cover, and
Yeah.
saying, "Who the fuck would buy this? This looks like a Charlie's Angels piece of shit ripoff." I never
I don't
even picked it up to look at the back. If I only knew back then, I would have got one for myself. But that's
That's
amazing.
all right. The Dreamcast port of Gunbird 2 is sick. That
Yeah.
I mean, and going back, I mean that one night, this was years ago in your mom's basement when we were going through all the Dreamcast stuff, and I first played Gun. That's the first time I played Gunbird 2. That was
Uh-huh.
kind of like the start of the spark of my shmup obsession.
Yeah.
you know. And then back when I'll never forget when we went to Chinatown. Was I don't know if it was for Third Strike or if it was for Street Fighter 4. Do you remember seeing that one guy in he's an older man at the time, maybe in his 40s, 50s, had a business suit on and he was playing Giga Wing, and he was playing both the first and second
I
at the
don't remember that.
same exact time and was absolutely destroying the game. I was like, I've never like I've seen videos online, but I've actually never seen it like in real life. I was like completely, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
I did not remember that.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. The most manliest game.
Yeah, we're getting low on time, so I want to make sure we
You,
get some
you
footage
pop this in.
of the I don't even know how to describe this game. The best art direction ever in a video game.
Not safe
Show
for
Nikki.
work.
This is the
Not safe
PlayStation
for work.
one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just look at those little guys on office
Look at this.
chairs at the bottom.
Look at this. Just flexing.
My God,
My
I did.
I'm
Oh my God.
flexing so hard that I have giant bullets coming out of me.
I mean, what were they
Look at
thinking? This
MP5s. I mean, look at this. MP5 half humanoid
I
robots.
can't even. I can't even push. What is
Game's
going
tough,
on?
man. Game's tough.
It is hard.
Look at that. Look at that manliness.
I mean,
Oh, you could be a girl, but who would want to be a
why
girl
why would you want to be a girl when you could be a manly man?
when you could be a half naked man?
I played the PSP version of this game and it's not as fun because
I
the
played it too.
the
Yeah.
sprites are like 3D models. It's not as hilarious as seeing like a
I love how he's
digitized
wearing.
human
I love
being.
how he's wearing a Viking helmet. Oh, something's getting hot.
It's
Look at,
I
I'm gonna be
mean,
that for Halloween. I'm gonna be that for Halloween this year. There it is, right there. It's my Halloween costume.
Sean, what are you? Oh well, did you ever play this game on
Chill.
PlayStation? It was Japan only. It was called Choaniki.
Shodaniki.
I actually read what that meant. I forgot what it was already earlier today. It's
I
like
remember.
Big
I
Brother
remember we looked
something.
at it. Oh, I remember we looked it up years ago. Oh my god, this game's fun. Gotta love that. The whole Japanese culture is amazing. You know what I mean? You go
Yeah.
from a game like this. What was that one when we were doing random MAME games? The exterminator game where like you're shooting the background off, and next thing you know, it's a naked woman.
Oh yeah. Well,
Did
that's
you
dude. That's not one game. There's a
That's
whole
like, yeah. I'm
genre
sorry.
in
I'm
Japan.
s-
We gotta cut out the tiles or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
They even made a game. I don't know if it was on PlayStation or Dreamcast. That was basically that game, except it was fully 3D modeled, and you were actually on a girl, and you cut
yeah,
her clothes off.
yeah.
What the fuck?
There's actually a shmup called was it
Jesus
Sexy
Christ, this is
Parodies?
hard. Oh yeah, I've
That,
seen
yeah,
that.
I think it's the same, similar to Gradius.
Oh, there we go. There's the bomb.
There it is. There's the beam. I love how you have your satellite ships, which are also men,
Just
corkscrew men,
manly man.
swimming. I love that. I love that
No,
swim.
it's amazing.
Oh, you go through Mount Olympia, all the Mr. Olympias in the.
I mean, they were probably just oh my god.
Oh, look at this.
One of my
Oh,
options
the
flew to
boner.
his side. What the fuck?
Look, your one dude is
Oh,
just
come on.
chilling.
Dude,
Yeah,
the hitbox is freaking huge.
I couldn't tell you what it is. I haven't played this game, I mean, which is my own fault. I haven't played it enough. My own fault.
This
I
is the
should be
game
playing
that
this
you should
game
be
all the
playing.
time. Yeah, this is the most serious game.
I forgot what I was
Chilling.
gonna say. I got distracted by the Arnold
The
Schwarzenegger
manliness,
box.
the manliness.
You can't get this kind of manliness on a vertical shmup, Sean.
I can't disagree with that. I mean, you really can't disagree with that. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think that ends the argument right there.
Yeah.
Which style of game was Choaniki?
Oh, look at that plow
Horizontal.
driver. The manly pogo stick.
That's it. Argument over. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's.
how can I come back after that, man? I can't. I got nothing better to say. You got me on that one.
I mean, come to think of it, do they even make like what was the last horizontal one that was made? Is that even
Probably,
like a
probably
big
that
thing
Darius
anymore?
Burst. Probably that Darius Burst.
Besides Darius, are there any other companies making them?
I mean, look, Cave makes Death Smiles 1 and 2. They, I think I mean, who makes shmups? Essentially,
Yeah,
it's more of an indie thing now. You know what I mean?
yeah. But even the
You
indie
know,
ones, I think, are all like those Toho games, aren't they? All vertical.
yeah. I'm not a big fan of Topo. They're a little weird for me.
I played it a while ago. I don't know why it became such a big thing.
I don't understand it.
I
I
thought it
don't.
was like I don't know. It looked like a flash game almost. I didn't
Yeah,
realize until later that it was like this like cult type of game.
yeah. It's a little out there. You know what I mean? There were a couple that there's like more now. They call the style a Euro shmup.
Holy shit!
Oh my god, look at this. They call it like a Euro shmup
It's
style.
following me. What the fuck?
Oh my
Oh my
god.
god! How was I supposed to dodge that? Oh
Oh
my
man.
god!
But it's because a lot of European developers now make a horizontal style shmup,
Hmm.
like Shinmura. That's like a newer one. Again, not an arcade game, just console ports, PC ports. But it's more of or Stardom was another one. It was a late Dreamcast game that came out like a year or two ago. But it's more of a longer has between 18 stages, 20 stages. I could be exaggerating, but a ton of stages. There's a whole storyline with cutscenes. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
they tried to make it like a real adventure, like you're encapsulated in this mission or war that's going on. Which it's cool in its own right, but the game itself just it doesn't have that pure arcade feel that I like.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm definitely if I play these games like it has if I'm gonna spend time playing a game, I feel like a shmup, I feel like it has to be an arcade because to me, I'm an arcade junkie. That's it's real that way. To me, arcades are real, pure.
Yeah, when are we gonna get some
I know,
real
man.
arcades?
I mean, I got one. I got one.
No, we need a
I
round
got one.
one. We need a round one in Jersey.
Oh, I thought you meant like arcade machine. Yeah,
Oh
no,
no.
yeah. Oh, I wish. You know what though? It seems to be going into that yestercade, barcade. You pay everything's on free play and everything. You know what I mean? That seems to be the new thing, and it seems like a lot are being opened up around the country.
I'm surprised how many
So,
there are opening up.
yeah,
I
I mean,
hope it's not gonna just be a burst, a bubble that bursts and then they all disappear again. But
well
I
then
can't
that's
see how
more
they won't.
arcades for us to buy.
Exactly.
I mean, when that happens, there's always you can always look at the bright side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like they're definitely up and coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully we get ones with some third strike at least. You know what I mean?
I'm still annoyed about that guy with that fake
Oh.
that fake
So
Street
what
Fighter 4
exact?
cabinet.
I wanted to
I
ask you.
forgot I never told you the story.
Yeah. What exact? How'd you know it was a bootleg? What did it look
Okay.
like?
So I well first he had the bootleg Vulix had some tennis game and then some weird ass big cabinet had Street Fighter 4. So
Oh, you mean it was a Vulix style cab that wasn't a Vulix? It was like a
yeah,
different name,
it was
company
the
name.
exact same ones that were in Chinatown.
Oh, they're still awesome though.
Yeah, I mean
But
they
like
look and
Chinese,
feel just like it.
like a Chinese knockoff of it.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot what
Gotcha.
it was
Okay.
called. It was called like Red Dragon or Black Dragon. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it was red. I think it was
Yeah,
red something.
it was
Yeah,
like
I
red and
remember.
black. But the screen, it was a 32-inch screen. It was nice. I mean,
Nice.
you wouldn't know the difference. I mean, I think the ones in, God damn it, in round one are actually those two. Like they don't have real ones in round one.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but they did have. I mean,
the ones in round one
they
were
had the
nice.
cards for the Nessica live.
Yeah, they were Nessica ones. Yeah, they had the whole. Everything was in Japanese. It said Nessica on it.
Yeah.
It was pretty
So
dope.
anyway, so I emailed the guy, and the guy that was managing the auction, I guess, wasn't the owner. He was just the I don't know, like the tech guy who fixes the arcades there.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, listen, can you take the Street Fighter 4, put it in the red cabinet, in this Japanese cabinet, and I'll pay a couple more bucks for that. And he was like, okay. And he said, well, how much more? Well, he had it for 650, and I was like, I'll pay you 700, so I'll pay you 50 bucks extra if you just move the games over. He's like, all right, let me ask my boss. So then he texts me back, I don't know, a couple hours later, and his boss goes, or he goes, yeah, my boss said 1,000, and I was like, what?
What?
He's like, I was like, dude, I was like, first of all, if I bought both of the auctions right now, it's less than 1,000.
Yeah.
So maybe he just doesn't understand. He's like, all right, I'll ask him. So then, hang on, let me put a different game on. So then, he's like, just check with him, or I was like, just check with him. So he's like, all right. So
Katsui.
he goes
Like
back to
Katsui. Katsui.
which was there it is.
Right there. Oh, this is one of my favorite games.
So he's like, I'll check with him. I was like, all right. So he's like, yeah, he said 900, and I was like, come on, man. I was like, I'll do. I forgot what I said. I'll do 800. He's like, all right, fine. So I start driving there, and it's some like kids arcade in not Paramus.
Passaic?
Yeah, I think it is Passaic. And it's this
Yeah.
I've never heard of. It's like it's mostly kids games. They have some of like the newer like Fruit and Ninja type stuff, but it's kind of a like seedy part of town. Like I was
Yeah.
afraid to park my car around the corner.
You have
Anyway,
a beam, by the way.
what? Oh,
You have a beam, man. There you go. It
halfway
locks.
there, like it was like a 40-minute drive. So halfway there, he calls me, and he's like, "Hey man, sorry, looks like the thing was working. I had the game in there, but it's not working now. So you better not come." And I was like really? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I had Street Fighter in here and it was working, and then it just stopped, and I don't know if I'm gonna get it working. And I was like,
Oh
and
boy.
like normally I'd be like, oh okay, but I was just like, dude, are you lying, or is like your boss trying to sell for more money? Like just tell me the truth. He's like, no man, I swear, no one else is asking about it. I just don't want you to come here. It's not working. And I was like, all right, well look, I know a little
Shady.
bit about arcades. I'm already halfway there. Maybe I can take a look. Little did I know, this guy's like a fucking electrician. There's nothing I
He
know
does.
that he doesn't
Yeah.
already know. But anyway, I get there and he has the whole thing like taken apart. Like he really was like trying to fix it, and he was
Okay.
like, it was so it definitely did break. Like I believe, like the guy was nice. Like he was a cool guy, and he's like, yeah, the power or something. He was just like taking out the batteries, taking out the power supplies, trying to get it to work. Cause the I didn't realize, but like the inside of that thing is like really wired up. Like it has its own speaker system. It's got
Yeah.
all kinds of crazy shit. So anyway,
Yeah.
he's working on it, and the Street Fighter game was kind of like sitting on a shelf, and I was expecting like a like a Taito 2 like PCB like computer basically. So I
Yeah.
pull it out, and it's just like a wooden box. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I move like the top of the box, and I see an Xbox 360 in there. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, come on. I
So like,
see.
and I see it's basically there's like a JAMA to USB converter like wedged in there. So he just
Yeah.
has like the two USB ports connected to that thing, and I'm just like, there's this. I'm like this. It's like this isn't. I don't know how to tell him. I was like, dude, you know this isn't real. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't really know anything about these games, and it seemed like he was being honest. And I was like, dude,
I
I
see.
was like, I would have paid 800 if this was real, but I'm not paying full price for this thing. I'll still buy the cabinet, but I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not paying $300 for an Xbox, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like,
So,
whatever. Let's see if you could just get it working. So he got it working, and I was like, I want to see this thing actually work because I was curious to see how the game loaded up. And it's so bootleg. It's like you turn it on, and it's just a gray screen that says Ultra Street Fighter 4 loading, and it's like a little loading bar. I'm like, oh my god. And
so it wasn't even like it wasn't just like a 360 in there.
what do you mean?
Well, you said it was a 360, but if it just comes up loading,
Well,
it's not
it's like a
direct.
hack, some kind of crazy hack. I mean, I don't know how they
Oh,
do
okay.
it. He
All
must have
right.
got it like off Alibaba or something because
Yeah.
I mean it was legit. Like it takes quarters. It wasn't just Street Fighter 4 in an Xbox.
So
It's
how
definitely what you're
much
thinking.
how much did he say for just the cabinet? Because I
So
mean,
so I was talking to the guy and I was like, look, I originally offered 700. I went up to 800, but I'm going back down to 700 because I thought this was real. I mean, this Xbox is worth nothing basically. I really just want the cabinet, but I'll take the game too for a little bit extra. So the guy was like, he's like, I don't think my boss is gonna do that. He's only gonna want 800. And I was like, well, let me talk to him and explain to him that this game isn't, it's not a real Street Fighter 4. It's not a Taito Type
yeah,
X2. It's not worth anything, but I'd rather have something in there rather than nothing. He's like, I don't know, man. My boss is an asshole. I don't think he's gonna listen to you. And I'm like, dude, let me just talk to him. Like, what's the hurt in just asking? He's like, all right.
yeah.
I could just tell this guy fucking hates his boss because he handed me his phone. He's like, all right, you can text him.
He didn't want to call him.
he
He knew.
did. He knew. I mean, he knew his boss. He was even telling me. He was like, dude. He's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, my boss is an asshole. And it sucks because people want to buy shit and people, want to make deals, but we're the ones that have to tell people no because he doesn't like talking to people. And I was like,
Ugh,
well, let me just call him. He's like, nah, man. He's like, he doesn't want me to give anybody his phone. Like, he doesn't like talking to people. I'm like, he owns a business. He doesn't want to talk to people. Whatever. So I text the guy. I'm like, basically explaining, like, listen, I thought
yeah.
this was official, blah, blah, blah. I'll go back to my original offer of 700. And like right now, it's like they're already closed. Like it's past 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
and he's not responding. Like 10, 20 minutes go by. Meanwhile, the sound on the arcade breaks, and I'm just like, oh my god, this thing is falling apart.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
it looked nice in the pictures, but it really was like falling apart
Shit.
in real life.
Oh
So
man.
I was already like, I don't want to fucking pay $700 for this thing, but I'm already here. I already have
Yeah.
sunk costs. So anyway, he doesn't respond. I'm like, can you just call him like before I leave? Like I don't know. Like I feel bad at making this guy do this because he's already
Yeah.
like working past his shift. He did all this shit to get this thing to work, and I'm not gonna get it. So he calls the guy, but he kind of like walks away. Like I can't even like hear what they're saying. Wow, this guy's fucking hard. And like he's looks like he's explaining to him something. He's like shaking his head, and then finally he walks back. He's like, he doesn't want to take your offer, and I'm like, well, can we negotiate? He's like, nah, man, he's just a bad negotiator. I'm like, I'm a good negotiator. Let me talk to him. He's like, nah, man. He said, anyone want to talk to you? And I was like,
Oh my God.
all right, like, I guess fuck you then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Not you, not
Yeah.
that guy, but
No, no, I know the guy that didn't want to talk. I
like,
gotcha.
like why? Like, why don't you want to talk to me? Like, do you not want money for this piece of shit that no one's
I
gonna
was gonna say
get?
he doesn't want to get rid of it. Then that's what it sounds like.
Seriously, I mean, the thing was literally falling apart,
Oh my
and
God.
like, what? I don't know. I was
It's
asking,
it's
what?
it just sucks because when those cabinets come up in our area, I mean
Yeah,
they're like rare as
I
hell.
know.
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I was
We, me or you
surprised.
essentially buy them. That's
Yeah,
whenever they pop up, one of us gets it. That's
it's a
it. You know
small
what I
market.
mean? It's literally just me and you at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
So I
That's
don't know. It just I don't know. I was getting more and more like angry at the guy, and I was like, I don't even want this guy to have my money. Like I was just like, this
yeah,
guy,
piece
he's
of
a
shit.
scumbag, and yeah, the fact that the sound wasn't working. God knows if this thing was gonna burn down my house if I ever plugged it in. Like it was definitely like a shoddy job. All the shit that was falling apart in there. I mean,
Yeah,
somehow the screen was nice. Like the game looked okay, but I was just like,
I
it's,
gotcha.
it's not worth it.
I hear you.
I wanted, and like nobody bought it. Like I watched the auction to see, nobody bought it.
I saw he
So,
put it back up. I was still following it. And I
oh,
saw
did
he
it
put
really? I was trying to see if he listed it
yeah.
again, but I
I
want
mean,
to
I
be able
haven't.
to like report it, be like, hey, or like put a comment, be like, anyone who wants to buy this, it's not a real Street Fighter. Like I feel bad if
Yeah.
someone gets like swindled out of it, but
Now,
more because I don't want that guy to make money because fuck him.
yeah. I my new thing is especially for my eBay. If you beat this, well, you're not gonna do it, but this big boat here, if you beat this big boat without bombing, you get a one up. It's very hard to do.
I'm pretty sure
You already
I
you
put
already
$5
screwed it
in his
up.
machine already.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying you already screwed it up, but it's actually there's a way of doing it, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, I don't think I played this game.
Uh,
This game is fucking hard.
yeah. So this is one of the games I have for my PCB that I have for the arcade. I love this game. So it actually loops a second time, but you have to meet a requirement to get the second loop.
Wow.
And there's two different second loops. One's called um, Euro. I forget what it's
Woo.
called. But the second loop is the same as the first loop, except every enemy has suicide bullets. So after you destroy the enemy, it has suicide bullets that home onto you. It's
Wow.
like when you actually, I've obviously I've never gotten the second loop ever because you have to have a certain amount of you have to have a score that a certain amount of score. You have to have a certain amount of lives and a certain amount of bombs left. And when I cleared this game, I almost used everything. I think I had like one bomb left. It was the
Hmm.
best I ever did. But it's a very difficult game. It's a lot of fun though.
I can't remember playing a game that's this hard. This is crazy.
Yeah, and the scoring in this game, I mean, you probably kind of figured it out, but it's simple but great. And in order to get, like extends, which is like the extra lives through the scoring, you pretty much have to learn how to do the score mechanic. You know what I mean? And at least for the first stage, try to maximize your score. So that way, by like the second or third stage, you get at least one extend. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And usually in these games, they always have like a there's two secret one ups. That one boss, and I love this guy here. You have to let go.
Ooh.
Oh man, I can't believe you made it through that.
I don't know how I did. It was a fucking wall of bullets.
Yeah, be careful here. All right, he's got a pattern coming up soon. I want you now.
Wow!
Your hip,
Wow!
your hitbox is the center of your propeller. That is your hitbox.
No,
Okay, just so
I'm
you
like
know.
not even
This
looking.
game's awesome. I'm telling you right now. It's hard, but it's fucking
It is
awesome.
pretty nuts. Have you played Enter the Gungeon yet,
Oh no, yeah, you keep telling me.
Sean? I was
I
gonna
know.
buy it for you because it was on sale the other
Oh,
day, but you
I
already
keep.
have it.
Oh, I just never played it.
It's in
Okay,
your
wait.
library.
Hug the blue bullets. Hug the blue
Ooh,
bullets.
what does that mean? I'm hugging all the bullets.
No. So
Jesus
what you
Christ!
want to do is you want to
Oh my
stay
God.
along one of the blue lines, the blue bullet lines, and hug your wing along that bullet, but without your propeller touching, and tap dodge the way and go with the pattern. Well, you got through it, but that's how I get through that. That was uh
Oh,
that was one of the like the first parts of the game I had to figure out how to get through. That I got done. There's only
oh
five
man.
game.
Yeah, you
The
have to.
only
You have to play Enter the Gungeon. I don't
Yeah.
know how you haven't yet. I feel like you're gonna fucking love it. It has all of the qualities of a bullet hell. Where I mean, in the later levels especially, but it has so much variety because every time you play the game, you get different guns. The levels are randomized. It's just so good.
I
It's
you know
so addicting.
I've been meaning to play it. I have so many games on backlog. You
Just
know
play
what
it.
I mean?
I know, but just play
I
it.
gotta
You're
play.
gonna
All
love
right,
it.
I'll after this podcast, I will install it. While
I can't imagine you being disappointed. It's so good.
what this game?
No, Enter the
Oh,
Gungeon.
all right.
And there's gonna be one final update on the game. They were gonna do like a DLC or something, but I don't know why, but they were like, oh, we don't have the time anymore, so we're just gonna do one more big free update, and then that's gonna be the end of the game. But it's so good. You just sink so many hours because it's one of the rogue-like games.
Yeah, I remember that.
So like
So
every
this guy,
time,
you're gonna have to go when he comes down. You're gonna have to rotate to the top of the screen.
oh man,
It's gonna start coming up soon. Yeah,
wow,
you have to keep moving with it.
whoa,
All right, well you do that.
man.
It's gonna follow you. You'll see eventually. Yeah,
So
this is a
when
little
when you do
difficult.
the lasers, do they do the same damage or more damage,
Um, I
or
believe it
is
does more
every game
damage.
different?
But when you have a lot of bullets on the screen, that it slows you down, right? Your
Yeah.
movement is slower.
Woo.
You you actually want to be slower
Yeah.
because you're starting to micro dodge. You know what I mean? Like the tap dodges.
Mhm.
You know, like see how like when you're playing, you're constantly moving around back and forth.
Mhm.
You want to like kind of calm yourself
Mhm.
and like, all right, there's a lot of
Little
bullets on the screen. Calm yourself and just tap,
Whew.
tap dodge. Just little taps up, down, left, right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you see a big pattern coming, avoid the whole pattern. You know, that's when you want to move. But you don't want to, when you see most people that are new to shmups, they just constantly have to be moving. It's
Mhm.
like a 17-year-old girl who's just learned how to drive a car. Like they have to be hitting the gas, hitting the brake. They don't know how to ease into things. You know what
Uh.
I'm saying? And look, that's what I used to do. So it's not like
Yeah. I
like
never thought
that's
of
what
it
it
that way.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like kind of see. You're starting to do it there. You're
Well, yeah,
starting to
because I'm
calm
thinking
yourself.
about it.
Yeah, and then you're just
Yeah.
tapping through.
Just
You're
tap it in.
remember your hitbox is the center of your propellers, so don't worry about the rest of your ship. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the middle of all these bullets are their hitboxes.
Yeah.
So when you start seeing the game almost as what the pixels really are, that's when you're starting to dissect the game in your mind.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's when you start taking it to a new level because now you're actually it's almost like like
Ooh.
you're fucking Neo in the Matrix. Now you see the real game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
I guess we should end this podcast. It's been over an hour. Or at
yeah,
least
yeah.
cut it off.
Well,
So
that was fun, man. I enjoyed it. I'm
I
down to do another one.
I definitely have a more appreciation after you explain it of why you like it because I never really knew why you liked it so much. I
Yeah,
still prefer the horizontal just because I like that gameplay style better. Not saying that
You
one
know
is
what?
better than
You
the
know what?
other.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's just you know what I mean. Like they're both. I love horizontal shooters as well.
Yeah.
But as far as if I had to, if I had to pick one or the other, it just seems like more. I like more verticals.
Yeah.
My favorite games just happen to be is what it comes down to.
Just want to play God.
That's it. Yeah, it's the God complex. It's the evil master puppet complex.
Yeah.
You're the you're the alien in the mothership looking down as it's ascending. You know what I mean? You're the puppet.
I think of this whole podcast, that's my favorite thing that happened so far.
I was just thinking of
It
that
just
too. I was like,
blew my
you
fucking mind.
instead of being an innocent bystander of there's an alien attack, you're gonna die on the street.
Oh my
You know,
god.
at least now you're God or you're the alien that's controlling and you're watching from above.
I love it.
You're the villain. That's the real meaning of why you pick a vertical over a horizontal. I ain't no bitch. That's why.
All right. Well,
Uh,
I guess that's it for now. Tune in next week or whenever we do the next one, and the next topic I think is going to be pad players versus arcade stick players for
oh, who's gonna
fighting games.
who's gonna actually pick?
You
Pad?
know, that's what I said. That's what I said. But our special guest Matt Killender says that he prefers the pad, and I said,
Oh, come
Matt,
on. He's just
listen.
doing it for sake of argument, just to have a show. He said it's not
Listen,
for real.
I can understand. We
I
all
get
grew up playing on the pad.
You're right. You're right. You're
There's
right.
we will get into it. I think it'll be a much more heated debate because
Listen. You keep that pad shit at the door when you come in.
keep the pad.
You're not. You don't bring that shit, my
You want to
place.
sit at the big boys table. You need an arcade
Yeah,
stick.
that's how I really know you. You know how I know you're gay? You know I know you're casual, man.
I mean, you say that, but look at some of the top players, man. I mean, not Japanese players because
Oh,
they know what they're doing. They know how to
oh
play the
come
real
on.
one. But
But we're living in a generation where games aren't released in the arcades anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's why. That's
I
why
mean,
the kids
like
that
watching
are
the Cooperation Cup, and they're all playing on,
and they're all over 30 years old.
and they're all
Every
playing.
person.
You said under 30 in the text. I was confused when you
No,
said that.
I meant to say over.
I was warning. I was like, it's like, damn,
Sorry
those are
about
some
that.
old-looking under 30-year-old Japanese guys.
I'm gonna have to edit that post.
But yeah, they are all playing
Over 30.
on, and I love the tournaments in Japan where they're playing on a stage with
Yeah.
two arcades facing each other. That is just
Versatile.
It's-
Well, no, back to back.
it's like a sumo match. That's the way. There's tradition. There's certain things you're supposed to do, and that's
Yeah.
what it should be. But anyway,
How far are you in High Score Girl?
I'm still on episode 3. Matt,
Oh my
Matt is even
God,
farther
come
than me.
on.
I know.
Come on.
I
How
told
do you-
Matt to watch it. And
I don't even want to
didn't
give
finish
it because we're talking about Corporation Cup. It reminds me of High
Oh
Score
my
Girl.
God!
So you have to. You have. That's why.
Tell
now
me he plays in a Street Fighter tournament.
Hey, he does.
Oh my God! I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Now you have to watch it.
Son of a bitch!
He does. It's the
anyone
same
else-
exact way.
Is listening to this podcast, you need to watch High Score Girl if you like arcades. Cause
If you're an arcade guy, yeah, it's literally the biography of an arcade rat
if we were born
from
in Japan,
1991
it's
in Japan,
about
from
us.
91 to 98 or 99, whatever it is. It's just
like 91 or 93.
I-
or something.
there's like so many good parts to that show where I don't even want because I know you didn't see it, so I don't want to get too deep into it. But it's just like he takes time away from the arcades. He comes back and now he realizes his skills are gone. He's like, "What have I been doing? I have to get back to basics." And then he's in school and he's like, "I have to get my mind right. So I'll listen to gaming soundtracks." And he's just in the corner, he's just in the corner listening to Street Fighter 2
Oh
like
my
soundtrack,
God.
just like phasing out in class. I'm like, oh my God. That's why I said, Johnny, this is
I-
literally you. This is you when we were kids.
Oh my God! I haven't even seen it yet. I already know it's my favorite
There's
show.
so
of all
many.
time.
There are so many. I didn't want to ruin the tournament thing, but I think that's the only way I could get you to watch it.
Oh my God! I'm gonna watch it. That's the problem. Is that even when I watch shows now, I'm always doing something else. But when
If you
it's a
kill
show
that
like
guy, it's
that,
a one up right there.
I have to watch it because it's subtitles, obviously. So it's hard for me to be not doing anything. So
I mean,
I'm gonna watch
you
it.
could watch it in dub, but I don't know who does that.
I don't
You know
think
what
no,
I
I didn't
mean?
think they have that available on Netflix.
They do. They do.
Oh, really?
When I first turned it on, it was on English dub.
I don't want
It
to do that
actually it
shit.
actually didn't even feel like English dub. It just felt like like the English version of it.
Yeah.
But I was
I'll,
like, wait a minute, is there subtitles? And I saw it.
I'll check it out. I just want to
Uh,
hear it, but
I mean,
I
it's.
still watch it in Japanese.
I mean, you got to ignore the whole goofy. This is the last guy, I
Oh,
think,
really?
right?
I don't
Is
know.
it stage 5? Maybe this is 4. Oh man, I don't even know right now. Yeah, I think this is it. Um, but yeah, it's just like if you can ignore the whole like middle school lover drama thing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and like how one girl never says a word throughout the
Yeah.
whole show. It's kind of weird, but if you
Yeah.
just look at it for the
God
aesthetic part of this is what it was like to
damn. I
be
know. It's
in
beautiful.
middle school as an arcade rat in Japan during the whole. They go through every Street Fighter 2 game. I mean, I even wonder if there's some cool parts where you're like,
Oh
oh,
my
like
God! Stop talking about
I'm
it. I'm
done,
gonna
I'm
watch
done,
it.
I'm
I'm
done,
gonna
I'm
watch it.
done,
All
I'm
right.
done.
I'm gonna cut off the podcast now.
All right, all
So
right.
we will see you next time.